Welcome back to the DNA Pest Control Podcast. This is Daniel.
This is Aaron.
All right. So today is actually really cool. We have a guest on, Brad Wheaton. He currently works with Rentokil, and he is in Canada on an island called Newfoundland.
Newfoundland.
Yep. Right? Okay. Brad, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, awesome, Brad. I am excited.
Yes.
Thanks for emailing us. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
No, I'm very excited. I've been listening to you guys for like the past week or two now, and I've almost caught up with all the episodes. So
that's awesome.
I'm a very quick and a very big fan.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. And I'm glad that you have been listening, and hopefully it has been able to help you out a little bit with the info.
Oh, man. Like, I learned more in the last couple of weeks than I have in like the past month or two. Shouldn't be saying that, but I have.
Tell us.
That's okay. You know, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That was the whole point of the podcast coming out. Because for me too, I had to go through that, right? I had to learn on my own. I didn't have a point of contact or anybody who was willing to help me learn. And so hearing that from you, that's exactly the point of the podcast. And so that's cool. I really like that. Actually hearing that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I've already told my my other technicians about your podcast. One of them actually wants to be on in the future as well. My field trainer, he just got promoted to sales, and when I told him at the podcast, he's like, "You got to get me on there."
That's cool.
And I'm like, I'll put in a good word.
Let's get him on. Aaron's gonna love that.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Brad, I have a ton of questions for you. And so we'll kind of sprinkle in some of my personal questions on kind of what you guys are doing out there. You don't have to get into trade secrets, you know, with Rentokil. I don't want them getting angry at us.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. But, you know, just the basic stuff on, you know, what you do out in Canada, you know, the weather, especially out on that island, you know, because here in California, if we were surrounded by water, we'd probably only be able to step on insects, to be honest with you, is how strict they'd be.
Yeah.
So, you know, what's the weather like out there?
The weather is terrible. It's borderline dangerous certain days. Just to give you an idea, with the west coast of Newfoundland, we have a road called the Wreck House Road, and there's a sign. Yeah, it's called the Wreck House, and there's a sign that tells you the wind, and if the wind is too strong, they close down the road. And one of our main towns, you have to drive that road. So there's a lot of times where you go and you plan your day, and then you get to the sign. It's like, no, sorry, park or turn around. And it has happened.
Oh, man.
Yeah, because it's actually dangerous. Like transfer trucks will be blown right off the road.
Wow, that's crazy. Well, and so I saw on the map you're really close to Greenland. So if people are listening, at least from the U.S. Or from other countries, they can kind of look that up. So does it snow a ton?
Yeah.
Okay.
It snows really bad. Like I had to refuse work after a certain point, and I hate refusing work, but I had a 2-wheel drive truck, and it was too unsafe. So I had to get a 4-wheel drive in order to do the job, because it got to certain points where whether it was hydroplaning, whether it was whiteouts, it was very dangerous to get to the destination.
Wow, I'm shocked they wouldn't even just, get you a 4-wheel drive from the get-go.
Yeah, you'd think, right?
Yeah, it costs a little bit more.
But if we get started on that, we won't stop. So,
man, yeah. That's crazy though. Okay, so you got high winds, you got snow, dangerous conditions.
Yeah.
If it snows, it rains.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I guess the other question, the last one, is: do you have nice weather?
There's like a good 3-week period in July.
Oh, there you go.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no.
Really?
Realistically, you get July and August, and then September rolls around. You get about 3 weeks of fall, of autumn, and then 7 or 8 months of winter.
Wow. Okay.
Roughly. Yeah.
Well, so here
now, mind you, you get your scattered good days. Like yesterday, it was minus Do you guys do Celsius or Fahrenheit?
Come on, we're the U.S. We have to do our own thing, so we do Fahrenheit. Don't ask me why.
Oh, okay. My truck's at minus 32 degrees.
Celsius?
No, I think we do Fahrenheit as well.
Oh, do you do Fahrenheit as well? Okay.
Yeah, Canada is weird. We do a mixture of both. We have metric and imperial.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was gonna say if you're -2 Celsius, I gotta ask what are your trucks made of?
Yeah.
Like, there's no way you're running in that.
No, the coldest was minus 32 Fahrenheit. That's the coldest.
So you have you have a shell in the truck then, right? There's no way you have an open bed.
No, it's open.
How is all your equipment not freezing?
Okay, so here's a story.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was driving. Okay, so I was on the West Coast helping out. So there's West Coast, Central, and East. I'm in charge of Central. Our West Coast worker quit on us, so I had to take care of Central and West, which doubled my clients, doubled my driving area. It was really stressful. And the Northern Peninsula, which is Northwest, the wind gets really bad. Very similar to what I mentioned before about the wreck house.
Yeah.
And one day I was driving and the wind was bad and I heard a loud noise and I looked behind me and it was gone. It blew away.
No way.
It blew away. And I looked and it was already in the Atlantic. And I was like, okay, well, I don't get paid enough to go out and fetch that in the ocean. So I called my boss and I was like, hey, just so you know, this happened. And he's like, all right, well, I guess you'll have to go back. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I do.
I guess you'll have to go back.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't think I have it in me to go any further, but thanks.
Man, that's crazy. That's intense. Okay. So
yeah,
I'm the tech, I'm over operations and everything like that here. So the tech work is, what really intrigues me and getting into that. What do you do when it is snowing? I mean, I know you have a lot of commercial properties. So what are you doing in those? Are you just treating the inside? Are you even trying to treat the outside? What's going on?
So if it's really bad out, I'll just treat the inside.
Okay.
But if it's not too bad, I'll just put on a winter coat and I'll walk the perimeter. And I'll see if the bait stations are buried. If they're buried, then I'll make a note of that. But if it's not too bad, I'll just go around and dig them all out and see if there's any activity and go from there.
Okay. And do you normally see activity even though they're covered in snow?
Yeah.
If there's a history of like rat, maybe, but with mice, not so much. It only depends. Honestly, it depends on if ice gets on them. If they're covered in ice, then yeah, I don't really see much activity.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, the box is frozen. It's probably covered. They can't get in. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So they still have you treating. Are there any like strict rules on the island, on what you can spray, what you can't spray, what you're allowed to do?
Well, here's the thing. I was only given one type of spray to use, which is Dragnet.
Okay.
It's like a pyrethrin spray, and I guess almost because I was new or whatever, but that was the only spray they ever gave me, and they said it was a multi-pest spray. So if they have silverfish, if they have ants, if they have spiders, spray Dragnet on the outside, and so I spray Dragnet.
It's have you ever seen what's the movie? Is it The Other Guys?
No, I've heard of it. I haven't watched it though.
Okay, well, if you do, they take a guy's gun away and they give him a wooden gun.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And that sounds like your situation. They're like, here's your chemical, and that's it. You don't get any other ones.
Good luck.
Well, listen, after that incident with the wind, I don't even have Dragnet anymore.
Oh, that fell out too. That's in
So-
the ocean too.
So what did they give you? So what, like you have no chemical on your truck?
They give me a pat on the back and say good luck.
No.
Oh, and listen, I'm not trying to exaggerate too much, but a great example would be yesterday. There was a family in a remote location who had silverfish in their home. And I was in the capital, St. John's, and that's where all the storage is. You have to go to the capital to even get storage. They don't ship it out or bring it to you. And it's a 3.5 hour drive just to get product. And when I got there, I was like, hey, so silverfish situation, what should I do? And they were like, use a vert.
Mm-hmm.
A vert dry flowable. And I was like, okay, cool. The customer requested a spray though. They said they would prefer that. And they said, no, don't bother with that. Just do the vert and go from there. And I was like, okay. So I went there, and there's silverfish in their walls, and they're everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I found an area underneath their stairs where it looks like they had killed probably 200 in the last week, like squishing them.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so the situation was really bad. Yeah, so I didn't know what to do. I laid down the avert in the cracks and crevices. I laid down glue boards because I always lay down glue boards.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure what to do, so I called one of my coworkers who's been in the job for about 5 years, and he's like, "Do you have any makeshift remedies? Anything that I could do?" And he said, "Well, if they gave you nothing to work with, take some dish soap and pour cold water into it and spray it around, and it'll clog up their spiracles and make them unable to breathe." And he said he's done it himself, and he said it's a slow burn process, but after a few weeks, they'll notice a significant drop in the population. So that's what I did, and I really wish I had a spray.
You wish you had something a little bit better. Wow.
I wish I had a spray, because you know what? I could have sprayed, and then everyone would have been happy. And yeah, like I understand spray and pray is not a good thing, but I felt like in that situation, the option would have been nice.
Well, and I think there's the concept of spray and pray is usually done when someone doesn't know where to treat. They're just hitting baseboards in hopes that it's going to kill that. So, I mean, if you had it and you found where they're, hiding, you're pretty good. So it sounds like, okay. So then what are the main pests out there too? What are you mainly dealing
main
with?
pests? Rodents are the main pests, mostly house mice.
Mm-hmm.
Rats are prevalent in the capital and in the town of Corner Brook, which is on the west coast. For Central, for me specifically, just house mice.
Okay.
But I've had a couple silverfish call outs. I'm having a real sticky situation with pharaoh ants. Actually, in Gander, I've had 2 callbacks there trying to get them taken care of, but I can't seem to do it because I don't have anything.
Do they not give you any bait for ants?
So they gave me, I can't remember what the bait was called. This was back in August. It was a gel bait, and it worked for about 3 weeks, and then it stopped working. So I asked, well, what can I do? My manager recommended to do a spray, and then my trainer said, no, pharaoh ants will do budding, and you'll make the problem even worse. I said, okay, so what do I do? And he said, just lay down more bait. I ain't got no more bait. And then he said, oh, well, I'll call you back. Never got a call back from him. And so I had to do my own research. Yes, it's a rough life out here. Yeah. So I did my own research, and I couldn't really come up with anything except for diatomaceous earth. I figured if I laid that in the cracks and crevices in the apartments that are impacted, then maybe it would help. Worked for a couple months, and now they're back. So the new guy who's taking care of West Coast now, I asked him for help. He said OptiGuard would work because they like protein-based bait because they're pharaoh ants. And he said next time I go out there, I should try that. So I'm hoping that'll work.
Nice.
I haven't done it yet, but I hope that'll work.
Yeah. So you don't have Alpine, WSG. You're not allowed to use Termidor out there. Any of those products?
Dragnet. That's all I'm allowed to use for a spray.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I
Yeah.
mean,
I don't even have a BnG.
then how do you spray? Backpack?
I don't have a spray anymore.
Oh, you just can't spray anymore.
I just can't spray anymore. I was in the Capitol yesterday, and I was like, I need a spray. I was like, I feel like I deserve a spray, like a backpack spray or a BnG something. And they were like, we don't have any to give you because it's not in the budget right now. You'll have to come back in April. I'm like, brilliant. No, that's great.
There's not like a Home Depot. Do you have Home Depot out there?
Yeah,
You can't just go grab a little BnG and go for it?
that's what I was gonna do. It's like a $30 BnG I was gonna grab,
Yeah.
and my trainer was like, you don't want to use the cheap ones. You'll have to use a good one if you're going to use pesticides. And I was like, okay, how much is that? Like, it'll cost you about $250 plus tax. And I was like, it's not something I could probably purchase on my own. I prefer the company do that. And he said, well, manager says it's not in the budget. I'm like, nothing's ever in the budget.
It's because it's taken out of his budget, out of his check.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And it's like, I don't want to complain too much because I don't like complaining with the job. I love this job and I love pest control.
Yeah.
But the obstacles that I have here, and they're all avoidable.
Okay.
I'm so frustrated.
Well, let's jump into that. I mean, I know, let me pull up. I know you had some questions.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I'll give you my opinion and what I personally would do. Obviously, you're going to have to make that decision on your own, right? And definitely think through it.
Yeah.
But I did want to get a little background on kind of what's going on and what's happening. And I don't know anything about the company. I don't know what their budget is. I don't know what they're charging customers. And you don't have to get into that information just in case they do listen. Maybe they're not going to be too happy if you say stuff like that. But I saw in here, so kind of your main I guess what was your main question when you did email us?
Well, I will admit when I sent that email, I was pretty frustrated with the manager because he made the announcement that my route was basically doubling with the hospitals and schools, and it frustrated me because our manager refuses to get his license. Mm-hmm. So it seems from our point of view that he spends his days behind his laptop or on his phone trying to tell us how to do the job, which, for most cases, that's fine. If you're a manager, you've earned it for the most part. So I would trust your judgment. But he doesn't understand the root side of it, like actually going out and doing it because he's not allowed to. He's never been allowed to. He's never done it. So when he tells me, oh, you can get the hospitals done in about a half hour each, you can get the schools done in about half hour, 45 minutes, that's not feasible, especially if I want to do a good job, because these schools, there's a lot of schools, a lot of hospitals, they take time, especially if there's an issue. And he just says, well, and he's notorious for this. Well, it's got to get done. No matter what you bring up to him, like, well, listen, it's got to get done. So get it done. I'm like, okay. And then at the end of the month, I'll say, why wasn't it done? And I'm like, I'm trying. There's only so much time in a day. And it's like, well, can I do overtime? And he's like, you got to keep the overtime low because it's not in the budget. And it's like a rock and a hard place situation. So I'm just, especially, and then you include the driving portion of it, where a lot of these places are 3 hours away, where I can only spend an hour there, or I'd have to get a hotel there. It's very hard to time manage when these restrictions are in place. So I guess I was looking for some advice on how to juggle it all, given my restrictions.
Well, so me and Aaron, we kind of brainstormed with that because that's exactly what was in the email, right? Essentially, how do I, how do you do that, right? How are you controlling that? And a lot of that's out of your control. But what I mentioned to Aaron, and Aaron may have a different idea, but what I mentioned to him is, what's your end goal? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish? because that really says everything, So for me, and I threw this out there, and I'll tell you kind of what I said to him, because it all really depends on what you think and what you want to do, is in that situation where I want to give it my all. I want to do the best I can, but I have no BnG. I have no backpack sprayer. I have limited chemicals that they're even willing to give me. Everything comes back to a budget. For me, it's what can I learn in this time until I find something better or find something different that allows me the freedom to actually, do a proper job.
Yeah.
And that's because you are working for a fairly large company. I mean, a massive company.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the unfortunate part is there could be incompetent people that are in the management role that are your superiors. And so you may not learn the best from them, but you at least have contacts, with other technicians that have that experience, that know what to do, that have those ideas. And so during this time, until you can find something, that is better for me, I would be, getting really close to those people and learning as much information as I can, especially the experience of getting into a hospital and doing work in hospitals, doing work in schools. Those are very specific situations that another company is looking for and is possibly even looking to hire a person in that situation where you have that skill set. You know what to do in those situations. You know who to talk to. And that information is very, very valuable. And they don't realize that now, but the second a competitor comes in and they actually have those resources, those guys are screwed on every level. They're going to lose a ton of accounts. And talk about budget. Your budget just shrunk if somebody good comes in and takes everybody away.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's how I look at it. I don't know what you want to do. I don't know if there's other competitors in the area. I don't know. I have no idea. Is Renco the only one?
Well, Terminix was one.
Yeah, well, not anymore. Yeah, they took them out.
Yeah. The biggest competitor for us is Orkin.
Okay.
So Orkin is the big one. And then we have a couple smaller companies, which I don't believe are hiring right now. But Orkin's the big one.
Orkin's the big one. Okay. I mean, Aaron, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know if jumping ship is the first place I'd go.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of comes down to, because it sounds like you really do love your job when all the right pieces are there. I'm kind of curious as to how is your relationship with that manager? Because I know that, you said that from your perspective, it seems like he's calling the shots when he hasn't really, put in the time to be there. Do you guys talk on a consistent basis to where you can feel like you can have those kind of harder conversations with him, or how's that relationship look like?
He calls probably once every 3 or 4 days for an update. And the relationship is fine, I guess. It's not the best. Like, I hate to say this, but we did have not a screaming match or anything, but like we had a disagreement last month because, well, I think I mentioned earlier that a West Coast worker quit.
Yes, you did.
So my workload got doubled and my driving time got doubled. And he said over the phone, so it wasn't written or anything, but over the phone, he said, "I promise you, I'm going to have someone else hired within 2 months." He said, "I'll only need you to do it for 2 months." And he said, "The overtime will go back to 0. You'll work like normal and you'll be fine." And he said that back in October.
Okay.
And this month he called me and he said, "You're going to have to do it again." And I don't like that I said no to my boss, but I said, no, I'm not doing it anymore. I can't do it anymore. The overtime is insane, 14-hour days, trying to get everything done. Nobody's helping me. I have limited resources. There's so many customers that are not getting the service that they're paying for because I show up, I see that the bait is empty. I don't have any bait.
Mm-hmm.
I can't go to St. John's, which is the capital, because it's 3.5 hours away. It takes a full day to do it. I can't lose that day. I can't work weekends because I have my daughter. It's just, So I told him no. And he said, listen, I have never once in my life had one of my workers ever say no to me. I'm like, I shouldn't have said this, but I was really mad. So I said, well, you just did.
Yeah. First for everything.
Yeah, I get it.
Right. And he said, listen, if you don't do it, I'm going to have to get one of the guys from the city to come out and do it. And I said, good. I said, it'd be nice if someone else did it so that I wouldn't have to, because I've been doing it for 4 or 5 months and I'm tired. And he's like, well, you'll have to come in here and help out. And I said, even better. That's where the inventory is.
That's where the stuff I need is. Yeah. Okay. So
right.
It sounds like you communicated that, or at least, there was an attempt to, and maybe it didn't come off the best way. Cause, as a manager, if I had somebody who felt that way, I would want somebody who, like, you obviously care about this job and you love this job, right? So if somebody came up to me,
I love this job. I love everything about it.
And that's so rare. That's so great. So somebody in that position as a manager, I'd want them to come up to me and say, hey, like, I want to continue to do this. I enjoy what I do. It doesn't feel like I'm getting the support, right? It doesn't feel like I have the tools necessary to do my job effectively. Cause like you said, it's like you're sitting there face to face with the client with what was it, silverfish or springtails?
Silverfish.
Yeah, silverfish. And you're having to come up with stuff on the spot, calling somebody else, and you were resourceful, and that was great, and you were able to do something there, which is important. But I don't know. I don't know if it's like a lack of understanding between, you and the manager, because you obviously are frustrated and he's obviously frustrated because he probably has somebody above him who's yelling at him saying, why are you spending so much money? What's going on here?
Yeah, I mean,
well, I know. For me specifically, he had spent a lot of money because, well, there was a lot of gas being burned, a lot of hotel stays because the furthest town was 8.5 hours away. Oof. So there was quite a lot of hotel stays. Yeah, it's pretty far. The overtime was through the roof. The most I did was 19 hours, and 16 of those hours was driving, and only like 3 hours of actual servicing. Trying to get everything done in time, but a lot of money was spent trying to make sure everything was done. But as far as I was aware, it was still less expensive than hiring someone new. And I'm not going to get into any conspiracies as to why it took so long for him to hire somebody. But the general consensus is that's why. In the grand scheme of things, it was cheaper to have me do all that than to get another salary.
Yeah,
brought in.
And usually
because
that is.
It was,
yeah.
Because I know my trainer who just got promoted to sales, so he had a route, and they already have a guy doing the training. That's what I've learned, and it only took about 2 or 3 weeks, whereas the West Coast guy took 4 or 5 months to find somebody. And a little bit of conspiracy that I can tell you is that he called back in November. I can't say too much, but he called back in like November, December, and I asked him, I was like, it's none of my business, but the interview process, how's that going? Is there anybody ready to start training? And he's like, well, I've had a few interviews, about 3 or 4, but I'll tell you one thing, can't find another Brad Wheaton, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, oh, okay, cool. No worries. I'll keep working. Anyways, my trainer called and he talks to our manager all the time. And I told him, like, yeah, he said he interviewed a few people and couldn't find anybody yet that was good. And he was like, BS. And I'm like, what? He says, bull. I was talking to him this morning. He hasn't even scheduled any interviews yet. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, he hasn't scheduled anybody. He's like, why would he? You're doing all the work. Why would he? And I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah. In that, you really, I know it's kind of hard in the situation you're in, but, really taking care of yourself, learning, diving in 100%, trying to get as much knowledge as that you can, because the more knowledge you have, the better your services become. You become more valuable. You said no one's looking to hire because they don't know that there's somebody better out there. Everyone's hiring.
Yeah.
That's not, it's just because they don't have a sign posted or they say they're not hiring. That means nothing. If you walked into their office and you said, "Hey, I'm looking for a new job," and they say no, and you walk in next week and say, "Hey, I'm looking for a new job," and they say no, and you walk in the week after that and say, "Hey, I'm looking for a new job," eventually they're going to say, "Okay, owner, you got to sit down with this kid. He keeps coming in here. He keeps looking for a good, a job. He wants to be here. I guarantee you he's going to fire somebody and get you on, or they're going to make room for you." That's the thing and they would be stupid not to. And the ones that don't, you don't want to work for them because they're the stupid ones, right? You want to go for the ones that are actually going to make room and pull on a good tech, because good techs are hard to find. Really good techs are hard to find. So
it's actually really funny that you say that, because when I was in the Capitol helping out the guy that was going to the West Coast, I did a few of his accounts while he was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And there were so many times where I was tempted to go to the Orkin building and just walk in and do that. And I kind of regret not doing it. I should have.
You may need to take a weekend trip with your daughter to the Capitol, and
I might have to,
and have a fun day. But that's the thing,
right?
is don't create a barrier, don't create a wall for yourself or self-doubt. You create what you really need. All the episodes we talk about is goals and things like that. In January, if you were listening to those, it is really that. It's you're the one that's in charge. You have to kind of work with what they're willing to give you. But outside of that, you're the guy. You choose. If you want a better job, there's a better job out there. And if you start building your knowledge base, better and better and better, and you're gaining more and more knowledge, and you become, a better technician because of it, people are going to pay you for that. They're going to pull you over. They're going to want you on, and they're going to give you the route that you need and deserve and want, because they know you're too valuable for that, to put you somewhere else. And it all comes with time. That's the unfortunate part is, in the industry, they are going to want to know, well, how long have you been doing it? And they're going to want to know what experience you do have and what would you do in specific situations and how would you handle that? So as you may just want to put your head down and work through these next couple of months until you have that year experience, until you have that year and a half experience, and then step into a better situation.
Yeah, I agree. I don't ever want to be considered someone who job hops from one place to the next.
Mm-hmm.
I hate people that do that.
Yeah.
Work one place for a few months and then jump to another place and jump to another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And especially we're with Newfoundland, like, you can only jump to like 2 or 3 places and that's it. Everyone knows who you are. You've worked with every pest control company here.
You're done.
So then you're done. But no, I hear where you're coming from. I guess it's just the stubborn part of me. I didn't want to throw in the towel early on with all of these roadblocks. And I also didn't want to jump to a new place too soon. And, at the end of the day, even though the cards are dealt against me, I am learning a lot. There's a lot of experience to be gained here.
Yeah.
But I think I got burned out. I think that's what happened. I got burned out.
Well, and I think, when it comes to, burnout and things like that is when the goal isn't set and there is no direction, that's when a lot of burnout can happen. When you, and that's what I mean is if someone came in and they said, look, I'm Orkin in Newfoundland, right? You come in and you sit down with me and you say, I hate my boss. He sucks. Everything's terrible over there. I'm looking at you and the first thing I'm thinking is, okay, if you hate your boss, are you going to hate me? If he sucks, that means I'm going to suck. So you're probably not the best choice. But if you're walking in and you say, look, the situation over there was tough. This is what happened and this is what I went through. But I made it work and I pushed through it and I made a point to learn as much as I could over here. I'm not leaving because I'm giving up. I'm leaving because I don't have enough resources to do the proper job. and I'm looking for a company that's going to provide me with those resources so I can do the best possible job. That right there, I'm
Exactly.
saying,
Like,
come on, you're hired. You didn't say anything bad about the company other than they don't give me enough product. They're not allowing me to do my job. And I need to be able to do my job. I love my job. I want to do it. Are you, and you put them in the interview seat, right? You're saying, are you going to allow me to do my job? And if they say, well, no, well, then you just get up and walk out and say, okay, I'll come back in 6 months when you change your answer. You know, you can interview them as much as they can interview you. And that's the problem. A lot of guys get into this situation where they think they're going into an interview. No, you're putting them in the interview as much as they're putting you in the interview.
Yeah.
And handle it that way. And I guarantee you, anybody there is going to hire you.
Sure.
You know,
good advice.
But I mean, take it that way. You know, if you have that confidence and you're walking in, I'm going to turn it around on them. I'm going to say, look, these are the problems I had, and this is what I need, and this is what I want to do. Are you going to allow me to do that? See what they say.
Okay.
I'm sure they'd say, yeah, we would need you. We'd love that. You know, and I bet you'd be hired on the spot.
Yeah, I love this job. I love everything about pest control. I've been doing the job for about 7 months now, and I've already got the highest 5-star reviews out of all. Not to brag or anything, but
No, that's cool.
That's awesome.
I got the most 5-star reviews out of everyone on the team. Like, for example, we had a monthly meeting last week, and he said, the manager was like, I asked all of you to get a 5-star review last week. Every one of you got 0. Brad Wheaton got 5. So
Nice.
So he was pretty pissed at them, and he was like, I don't know. I'm pretty good when it comes to my customers. When I can do the job. The only times I've ever gotten complaints from my clients because I couldn't do the job, and I feel terrible about it. Because call outs, another thing too, going back to these locations kills my schedule. Absolutely kills it. Because if I get a call back for a place that's 3 hours away, that's a full day.
I get it.
Yeah. And I mean, to help the manager with budgeting, I don't know if you've ever had the conversation with him, but, you know, to prevent callbacks, you know, you need the proper equipment to do that job. And then that will prevent the callback to where.
Exactly. One-time purchase to give me this equipment, and it prevents callbacks. Like, it costs so much more for me to go get gas, to go to these callbacks. I should have been done one-time visit. Like, it's so much cheaper to do the one-time purchase and give me the equipment I need to do the job correctly.
Yeah.
It makes sense to me. Right.
Yeah. I mean, and if you're pretty confident in yourself, you know, something I would do is I'd say, look, buy me the equipment. If your budget doesn't get smaller because I have the proper equipment, you can take that money out of my paycheck. I'll sign the paperwork. Let's see who's correct. You know, and when I'm right, guess what? You just gave me everything I needed.
Nice. That's a good idea.
Everybody wins.
That's a good idea.
Wins. Then he's not out of budget. He gets to keep everything. You know, everything's going to even itself out. He doesn't lose. You know, but it's a win-win. He wins because you're doing a better job. You win because now you have the proper equipment to do the best job.
Right.
You know, I think there's ways in everything that, you know, every situation, every problem, there's a solution. It's just looking at it the correct way. And I think there is a solution here on every end. It's just how you're looking at it and how you approach it.
Right. Just approach it from a different angle.
Yeah. And if you ever want to move to Canada or to California where it's nice and sunny, just let me know. I have a job waiting for you.
We got a spot, Brad.
Oh, perfect. Work me to the bone. I'm excited.
You're hired. This was your interview. You passed. Good job. You can go tell them, put in your 2 weeks. We'll see you here in 2 weeks.
Perfect. Can I bring my daughter? Or
yes, you can. Absolutely. We love families. So
all right.
Yeah, bring them on. I got 2 daughters myself. So please.
Fantastic. Get to learn how to deal with black widows. We don't have any here.
No, it's too cold there.
Too cold. You get a scattered one on some freight that come in on some bananas, but other than that, super rare.
Yeah.
Like, we don't even have fruit bats here.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah. No. Now, my trainer would swear to you that he's seen one at a farm once, but there was no proof. So
That it's funny.
you should have took a picture.
Yeah, I should have. That's the same thing with the brown recluse in Sacramento.
Yeah.
I did finally get to see one in my entire time doing this. I did see one. It was on a glue board, and it was.
Take a picture of it.
I didn't take a picture of it. It was actually at the office. Entomologist had it in his office.
Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't me. I didn't actually catch it or anything. It was another company, and they had a glue board in a warehouse where they got shipments from, I think, Brazil or somewhere, and they actually had the brown recluse.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's what he was saying. He's like, I don't think it actually was here, but we caught it on a glue board, and they're bigger than they look. They're actually a bigger spider. They're not super tiny. So I was shocked. But yeah, legit. I saw one. It was dead.
Oh, another thing too. One of the podcasts you mentioned this app. Oh, what's it called? I downloaded it yesterday. You have to pay like $10 for like a yearly fee. Do you remember the one you mentioned?
There's a couple. Is it the one for identification?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me look it up. I have it here. Let's see if I can find it. Where is
MPMA Guide Pro.
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I bought it and I used it to get some more knowledge on the silverfish job that I did yesterday.
Yeah,
and because it said that silverfish can't thrive. Well, the eggs can't thrive properly if the humidity is in between 50 to 75%.
Mm-hmm.
So I mentioned that to the homeowners, and I asked them. I was like, "Has there been anything done within the last 6 months to a year where the moisture and the humidity could have gone up?" And they said, "Well, they had a flood."
Oh man, and the houses are made of wood, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
There it is.
yeah, it was cool that the app helped me find out that there was a flood there. They didn't mention that until I mentioned the moisture.
Yep, good
awesome.
questions. I mean, yeah, and that's what I mean is you have those tools. You don't even have to tell people about that stuff. You don't need to memorize everything, right? You just need to know where to find it. And if you have those answers, you have that in your back pocket. It's amazing what you can do and how much more you can help out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the night before I do a shift, I sit down and I pick out 10 or 15 clients that I'm going to service, and I see what they have. And now I also sit down, I go on the app, and I look up the pests that might be there, and it helps out a lot. It makes me seem a lot more knowledgeable than I actually am.
Brad, you need to come. Do you want to live in the U.S.? I'll marry you. I'll marry you. Let's get you a visa. Let's get you over here. Let's make this work.
No, I'm very, very passionate about this job. Now, I'm not going to be one of those like, oh yeah, I want to be pest control since I was a kid. No, but when I was a kid, I worked at a coffee shop. I don't know if you guys have any Tim Hortons over there. That's like Starbucks up for Canada.
Mm. Okay, yeah. Okay.
But it was my first job, and the owner of the building I didn't like because, well, I was a teenager, and he told me what to do.
Yeah.
And one day, someone came in, and he was very submissive. And he's like, "Oh, hey, how's it going? Let me get you a coffee. You need anything? I'm here to help." And I found out it was the health inspector. And I was like, wow, these guys have so much power over owners of restaurants and buildings and stuff. I want to be one of them. And this was the close second.
There you go.
Close enough.
No.
So I enjoy this job a lot. I love. It's terrible to say, but I love coming into a building and they see me. They're like, "Oh, he's important. Like, we got to make sure everything's okay because he's here." And I'm like, "Hey, that's my job. I make sure you guys are okay. Don't worry."
That's awesome. That's good.
Yeah.
Cool.
No, honestly, and that's what I mean is there, if you end up leaving or if anything does happen, that's a massive loss on their end is finding those guys that are passionate about the job, that do enjoy it, who, put their whole heart into it, is amazing. It really is. And there's so much, you're worth so much. You're an asset. You're not a liability in this situation. you're worth way much more than what they're treating it as. Because guys don't do that. Even the guy that was promoted, that's your buddy. I bet you if we ask him the same thing, he's probably not doing that. He's not going to that consistent level and actually looking through that, which we're going to throw out an episode about consistency. Mm-hmm. And so, and you're doing that right now, right? You're going in, you're learning those insects, you're putting in the time, you're trying to build your knowledge, and that you don't find people like that. They're very, very hard to find.
I remember one day, I was told to go to the Capitol to help out. And the night before, I sat down and looked at all the accounts they wanted me to do. And I went on Google Maps and I looked at each and every location. I picked the optimized route so that I was able to get as many accounts done as possible while still maintaining, standards. And they wanted me to get 40 accounts done in the whole week. And I got 80. So got 80 accounts done for him.
And there's no budget, and the budget's still tight, huh?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Listen.
Oh man.
There's no money. There's no money.
There's no money. No.
We can't help you, Brad. We can't help you.
Man. Fell out of the truck. It's in the Atlantic.
Yeah. Oh gosh. No. Well. Brad,
I still don't have a cover for the truck. I'm still driving. Like I have to bring all my stuff into the house when I finish the shift because I can't have it freeze.
Oh my gosh. Oh. Yeah, I mean, Brad, stick it out. Learn as much as you can. If you ever do want to move, seriously though, reach out, send me a text. I got you. We'll make it work. We'll make something happen. Or if you want to put a little bit more stress on them, we can start something out there.
Yeah.
I don't know the rules and the laws, so you got to help me on that side, but I'll help you start something out there.
Listen, we can work together. We'll get this done.
Okay, let's do it. I'll take some flights out there. That's okay. I'm not scared of that.
Perfect. Let's do this.
Awesome, Brad. Well, before we end, I'm totally down. You don't know me. But before we end, do you have any other questions for us?
Not so much questions. Did you want to hear a specialty job I did once?
Yeah, let's go. Let's hear it.
Yeah. So in Newfoundland, bats, specifically brown bats, are protected species.
Uh-huh.
So because they have what's it called, white nose syndrome, it's like a fungus that gets in their nose and their nostrils, dehydrates them, and they die. Okay. So most of the population got wiped out.
Oh.
Anyways, a residential home called and said that he heard what he thought was a couple bats up in his attic. So we checked. There's probably about 100 up there.
Oh my God!
Which is a lot for this. Yeah, like that's probably half the population of Newfoundland there.
Yeah, in his house. Oh man!
Right. So he's like, "Can you come in and take care of it?" And my trainer was like, "Unfortunately, no. There's protocol because they're a protected species. So we got to get permission from the government to go and mess around with it, and we can't kill them. So we have to set up a one-way trap where they can fly out, but they can't fly back in, and that'll take care of the problem." Anyways, by the time that we got permission from the government to do it, a whole new generation of bats were born in the atmosphere. Shouldn't be laughing. The guy was stressed out, but there's about 250 bats were in there by the end of it.
Oh my gosh! And they allowed they allowed you to get them out. The government.
So this was happening right around the time I was still doing my training, and around August they had the trap set up. Most of them had flown out, and my trainer told me, he's like, "Yeah, I got to go and take care of this bat job." And immediately when I heard bat job, I was like, "Me, I want to go. Can I go? I want to go. I want to learn."
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, sure, you can come along. So when we get there, I was like, so where's the bats? And he's like, oh, the bats are gone. I'm like, so why am I here? And he's like, well, they have blown out insulation. I was like, uh-huh. And he said, well, the bats are gone, but their droppings are not. And I'm like, uh-huh. He said, so what you're going to do is you're going to go up there with a shot vac and you're going to get rid of it.
Just
and I'm
a
like,
shop
am
vac?
I? Mm-hmm. So me and him were there for like a week, 2 weeks in between doing our route. We go up there. It's like a 3-hour drive, by the way, from where I was. We go there. Sometimes, most of the time he'll be in the attic. Sometimes I'm in the attic. But most of the job was just bagging up all the insulation and then throwing it out the window in a garbage bag. We ended up with 72 industrial-sized garbage bags full of insulation and poop.
Oh, my
And by the end of it, turns out one of the bats didn't leave. So I'm here. I'm just standing next to the shop vac because it's just tearing up there, and I'm just vibing. And all you hear is a scream, like a really loud scream up in the attic. So I turn off the shop vac, and I'm like, "You good, Patrick?" And he's like, "Get the net." And I'm like, "Huh?" And I can't swear, but he's like, "Get the net." And I'm like, "Oh, the net. I'll get the net." So I get the net and I bring it up there. And yeah, there's a little bat there, starving, angry, scared, flying around. So he tries to get the net and he couldn't do it. But anyways, he manages to divert the bat into the trap. He flew away.
Oh
he had some choice words. He had some very choice words to say about it.
Oh.
And the worst part about the whole situation is that, like I said, it's blown out insulation.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the bags busted when I threw it out the window.
Oh.
And it went all over his driveway. But his driveway was gravel.
Oh, so you can't even clean that up?
Listen. So it got caught in the gravel. And my manager was like, "Brad, excellent job. Excellent job with that bat job. Excellent. Couldn't ask for better." And I'm like, "Oh, thanks, man." He's like, "So, you got to go back." And I'm like, "I got to go back? What happened?" He's like, "Well, there's insulation in the driveway. You got to pick it up." And I'm like, "Oh, okay. What do I get to pick it up with?" He's like, "You got 2 of them." And I'm like, "I got 2 of them?" He's like, "Yeah, you're going to pick them up with your hands." And I'm like, "Sweet. No, great. I love this. I'm glad I'm here." So for 8 hours straight, I was bent over picking up all these little pieces of insulation in the driveway. And while he watched.
Well, the owner was watching you.
The manager and the person who lived there and the manager was just watching. And I remember after like 6 hours, I stretch, and he's like, "This is a really good job. You can barely see any." And I'm like, Thank you, I appreciate it. And he's like, "But a great job could be a perfect job." And I'm like, "It sure could." And he's like, "Make sure you pick up all the rest of it that's here. I can see some." And I'm like, "What did I do to you?"
Oh my gosh! Well, you know what?
What did I do?
Make sure those bags do not blow up. Don't pop. Don't.
But that's
empty.
the thing. This whole bat job, like you could learn so much about bats and the type of traps that you could set up. I learned how to clean up insulation and how to pick up insulation on a gravel driveway.
Oh my gosh. Well, everyone has their, hey, but you know what? It's good. It's a good learning experience. We've done, I've been in situations where I've had to go back and refix something and redo something. Oh man, it sucks. But you learn from it because it's never going to happen again.
You learn from it.
It sucks so bad.
Yeah. But the next time if there's ever a bat job, I'm going to be like, first question, is there any blown out insulation?
Yeah, right. Yeah, because I'm not.
Question number 1 for me.
Yeah, charge quadruple the amount you normally would because it sucks.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, awesome, Brad. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Thanks for, filling us in, especially with the situations you go through. And I do hope everything does go well in whatever you do decide in the future.
Well, I'll definitely keep you posted.
Yeah, please do. Please send me a message. Please let me know what happens. I'd love to know. And maybe we'll put you on when something does happen and we'll get an update from you.
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay, awesome, Brad. You have a good day.
Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, you too, guys. See ya.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Well, there you have it. Brad Wheaton from Newfoundland.
From Newfoundland.
Yeah. Cool experience. I mean, that's really cool. I mean, everything that, he went through and just the experience he's gained so far and kind of the problems and everything, just because you're a route tech in whatever area, you're not the only one going through kind of a shitty situation.
Yeah.
It sounds like he's kind of going through it, and he's actually sticking through it, which is crazy.
Yeah.
I've had guys here that would have just quit.
A
they're
long time ago.
the second
Yeah.
the guy says, "Oh, you got to do it again," they would have just thrown in the flag and left.
Yeah.
Guys have left for less.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going through it. I mean, watch out, Brad. You're probably gonna have a lot of people looking at you. Moving you to a different place, even just to get you on board, because that's hard to find. That's really hard to find.
You hear some of the texts today. It's like, I got to wake up at 6:30 and I have to stay on the clock till 5. Like, that's almost a 12-hour day.
Yeah.
Once in a month or something like that, So it was really cool talking to you, Brad, and, appreciate you sharing your experience with us. So
Yeah. And that's going to go really well with an episode that's coming out as well, with consistency.
yes.
Brad, you did it. You're doing it. Just the extra steps you're taking on a daily basis is amazing. And you don't get that really with anybody else.
No.
It's really, really hard to find. Like I said, and I told him over and over again, but in all seriousness, that is like a dime a dozen,
Huge,
or not a dime a dozen. That's the diamond in the rough. You cannot find them.
Yeah.
It's hard. It is so hard. There's so many little babies out there that can't handle an 8-hour shift.
Mm-hmm.
They complain about that. I have to be on for 8 hours. He's doing 14, staying at a hotel. I couldn't get a guy to stay at a hotel before. I'll just do it all in one day. I'm like, okay, but just be careful.
Yeah.
He wouldn't even stay at a hotel.
Why?
I don't know. He didn't want it. I don't know. But, just trying to make it easy for him so they could sleep and actually get rested up. And this guy's doing it. So that to me is just amazing. But that's awesome, Brad. I mean, I'm really happy for you. I'm really happy that we had the conversation, and hopefully it did help you out.
Yes.
At the end. So
It's great to hear from listeners too.
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
It's great to have you guys on.
Yeah. And we do have more lined up, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have a couple more that will be on, and we're going to have, hopefully more and more in the future. So please, if you are listening, Brad, you still got to talk to your buddy who's in sales now.
Yep.
Aaron's going to love that.
Let's get him on.
Yeah, let's get him on. But yeah, if you're listening in, you want to be on the podcast, you want to share some of your experiences, you want to ask some questions, please call in. Feel free to ask us even, they can be tech, how to do a job properly or what we would do in a certain situation.
Mm-hmm.
Ask, we're here to help. So, but thanks for listening to this episode with Brad Wheaton from Newfoundland
Yes.
in Canada. And thanks for listening.